There is a recent addition to the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum, all tied to a new and exciting book. Executive Director Christina Shutt is joining me today with more information. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me today.
All right, so let's start with the book and then we'll get into the exhibit. So you've brought a book along to show. Tell me about this book.
Well, this book is really taking you through a walk through Lincoln's life, but we're doing it in a different way than you might expect. It's not the boring history textbook you read in high school.
Right.
Instead, what we're doing is we're taking 100 objects from our incredible collections and we're giving you the stories behind them. The stories you may not know about Lincoln, the stories of everyday Americans who are impacting and influencing Abraham Lincoln.
And I think that that is such a unique approach, and you can see some of the images in this book. So like this, for example, is...
Yeah, so this is one of the law books that Lincoln had in his law office. So he used this book on a regular basis when he was getting advice about how he should handle law things. So.
And then here, I'll do another one. This is fun. We'll do...
This is one of my favorites. So, of course, Abraham Lincoln was a country lawyer. He was someone who barely had 1 year of formal schooling. And what you see before you is his son, Robert's, admission to Harvard College. So you think in one man's life, we go from learning on a slate tablet, which we also feature in the book, to seeing his son go and graduate from Harvard College. Pretty amazing.
And so then you can read about all of those items in here, but then you can actually see some of the artifacts. How many of them would you say are like replicas, and how many are the original artifacts? How does that work at the museum?
So everything on display is the original artifact. So if you want to see the original desk that Lincoln wrote the the first inaugural address on, if you want to see things like a beautiful pinafore dress, all of those are the originals on display. We featured all the originals in the book, and it's about half that we could fit in the gallery. As you can imagine, that inaugural desk is pretty big.
Right.
We also have, of course, like a 6-foot desk or 6-foot table and chairs featured in there that, of course, Lincoln used to lay out on. So things that have never been on display before.
That's amazing that are able to be shown there. And then in addition to the real artifacts, you do, I know, have a gift shop that has some replica items as well, right?
Yeah, we do have an incredible gift shop, which of course is where you can purchase the book. Folks can also buy the book on our on Amazon, as well as Barnes & Noble, any kind of major bookseller as well. So it's a great way, if you're looking for those holiday gifts already, getting ahead of it.
Yes.
It's a great way to get ahead of it.
And this would be such a great gift. I know my dad was a history major. I mean, this is like the perfect gift for that history buff in your life.
Absolutely.
And then what have you brought here?
So,
I have a cannon in my hands.
Yeah, I just thought this cannon is so fun. So we, of course, featured the original, which is on display right now at the museum. But this cannon, after Willie Lincoln died, Abraham asked the Secretary of the Navy if he would make a small toy, if he could find something to keep Tad, his younger son, busy. And so we found this cannon that was actually a prototype for a cannon. And he asked that he bend the little firing pin so that it wouldn't work. So our cannon technically works, but they bent the firing pin so it doesn't work anymore.
So that it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I always find that so fascinating, the things that were built so many years ago that still today are, you know, able to be fired. I read a thing online that someone had found like a live grenade in their yard and things like that. The craftsmanship back then, I feel like, was just so incredible.
Absolutely, and you see that featured in the leather portfolio.
Yeah.
Here.
So
this,
what
of course,
is this
as a copy, is a recreation. The original's under glass, but this would have been the briefcase that Lincoln carried, going back and forth to his office every day. He would have carried his notes for the Gettysburg Address in there. And what I love, of course, this is a recreation, but our original, if you flip open the lid, you can actually see the red wax, little remnants of it from where he would have stamped his seal in sealing letters and documents. So, amazing.
What is the process at the museum for historians to sort of go through these artifacts and figure out information like that about the red wax seal or about the pin being bent? Where does that information come from?
Well, some of it comes from our own sort of historical knowledge of the area, from research from our colleagues, from our friends, but also research we do. And so we'll often go to newspapers, we'll go to letters, we'll go to other sources to say, well, what's the context around this? How do we know about these items? How do we know that this dress or this portfolio was used by Abraham Lincoln? And so when we do those things, we get to find out all of those incredible stories. And unfortunately for most museums, we're limited to about 150 words that we can put on a label at max.
Right.
And that's really even too many. And so this book and this exhibit was an opportunity for us to tell those stories, to tell the stories we don't usually get to tell about things like the portfolio and the toy canon.
That's amazing. And I really also appreciate that you come here and share all of this extra stuff, because I feel like when you go and visit the museum, you can read those captions or you can sort of read what's on the wall, but then actually hearing it from somebody that has the sort of inside knowledge is so important.
Absolutely. We want to get the history outside of our building. We want to get the information out. And we want people to know, because ultimately it's your history. It's our history. And we want people to celebrate that. We want to commemorate that. And we want folks to reflect on it, especially as we approach America's 250th anniversary.
Right. Well, thank you so much. Hang around, because I have more questions for you. ciLiving will continue in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere.